I just finished reading The Specialist by Ben Giles, and before I started it, I thought I knew exactly what kind of book it was going to be. I expected a true crime memoir, crime scenes, murders, police investigations, the kind of thing where someone comes in after the detectives leave to clean up the aftermath. And yes, that's in the book, but that's actually only a small part of what it turns out to be. The Specialist is a memoir about working as a biohazard cleaner, and it covers far more than just crime scenes. Ben Giles writes about cleaning homes where people have died and weren't discovered for days or even weeks. He talks about extreme hoarding cases, homes destroyed by years of neglect, situations where rubbish has accumulated to the point that a property becomes hazardous. These are the kinds of jobs most people never think about. When something terrible happens, we see the police, the paramedics, maybe the firefighters, but eventually those people leave. Someone still has to make those places safe again. That's the job Ben Giles is writing about. And that's what makes the book so interesting. It's one of those professions that's almost invisible. Most of us understand intellectually that someone has to do this work, but we rarely hear directly from the people who actually do it. There isn't much fiction about biohazard cleaners. They're usually background characters who show up in protective suits for 30 seconds before disappearing from the story. So, reading entire memoir from someone in that profession feels surprisingly fresh. One thing that stood out was how unprepared he was when he entered the industry. According to Giles, the training he initially received was nowhere near enough for the realities of the job. Basically, he was like cleaning ketchup off of a table. Instead, much of what he learned came through experience. That gives the book an honesty that I appreciated. Rather than presenting himself as someone who knew exactly what he was doing from day one, he's very open about learning as he went. The biggest surprise, though, is that this isn't only a memoir about biohazard cleaning. A large portion of the book is really about building a business. Ben Giles spends quite a bit of time discussing how he started his company, how it expanded, and the decisions he made along the way. It almost reads like an entrepreneur's autobiography because it is an entrepreneur's autobiography. And that's where my expectations and the book itself started to diverge. I went in expecting something closer to true crime. Instead, I got something that's part occupational memoir and part business memoir. Now, I actually enjoy biographies a lot, but business biographies are a very particular genre. They often have an underlying message that the author's success came from some unique quality they possess. Sometimes that's true, sometimes it isn't. And that's why I tend to approach entrepreneur memoirs with a little skepticism. After all, plenty of successful entrepreneurs have written books explaining why they succeeded, only for later events to completely change how people viewed their stories. A famous example is Elizabeth Holmes, whose public image as a visionary entrepreneur collapsed after the fraud surrounding Theranos was exposed. I'm not comparing Ben Giles to Elizabeth Holmes. There's nothing in The Specialist that suggests anything dishonest. I mean, after all, no one really wants to work in that profession. I'm only saying that the genre itself encourages readers to see success as proof that the author had some special formula. And I'm never entirely convinced by that style of storytelling. Towards the end of the book, Giles also briefly mentions that he is a Jehovah's Witness. It comes up fairly suddenly. He talks about sometimes wanting to share Bible passages with people he meets through his work, but deciding against it because he feels it would be disrespectful. And I get that the book is about his life and his philosophy and his things, but it seems like a bit too personal and disconnected from the rest of the story. Like, hey, you should try this, even though you're just reading this book about my profession. Overall, I thought The Specialist was a very good read. It wasn't the book I expected. I thought I was getting something much closer to true crime. Instead, I got a combination of occupational memoir, business biography, and personal reflection. If you're mainly interested in what it's really like to work as a biohazard cleaner, there's a lot here that's fascinating. If you're less interested in the entrepreneurial side of the story, you may find those sections a little less engaging. But the glimpse into a profession that most of us never think about makes the book well worth reading. If you're curious about the people who quietly deal with the aftermath of life's worst moments, I definitely recommend giving The Specialist a look. I'm trying to become the most prolific reviewer of all time, so if you like what I do, please leave a comment, please leave a like on a video that you liked it if you liked it, and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.